ఒకవేళ కాలికి ఏదైనా దెబ్బ తగిలింది, you will identify some of the plants and then you will try to titrate so that your wound will be healed. So such kind of things are available in majority of the plants, but at the same time we also should remember that plants also consist of toxic chemicals, which we always should use the plant materials or plant extracts with very much conscious and also under the supervision of experts or pharmacologists or doctors. So if we understand the biogeography of annual plant prevalence, you can see different types of colors here: brown, green, yellow, blue or blue-green color, where various types of geographical locations are having different types of medicinal plants, and you can see what exactly it depicts. The proportion of annual species among herbaceous species in each ecoregion, and these ecoregions with insufficient data are colored in grey. If you observe in grey, those are being observed as insufficient data, which means there are medicinal plants, however the data has not been identified or processed or open to the public sources, and resulting in 682 colored ecoregions. So here we only can identify some colors, but about 682 colored ecoregions have been identified and published across the globe. And global demand of medicinal plants. If you see, as per World Health Organization, the global market value for herbal industry is expected to reach US $5 trillion in 2050, and the global market growth for industry is expected to be 7% per annum from 2000 to 2050, which means you see the graph where the exponential growth can be observed. Here in 2000 it is only $60 billion. In 2003 it has grown very exponentially to 160 billion, and 2008 200 billion. In 2050 the expectations or predictions by pharmacologists or botanists or medicinal plants experts is about $5 trillion. And global export and import value of medicinal and aromatic plants during 2010 and 23. So this was published by one of the researchers in 2025, where they have clearly given global export value, which is shown in blue graph, and global import value, which is shown in red color. This is also another exported and imported countries in medicinal and aromatic plants during 2023, and agroclimatic regions in India. So these are various regions which we have, and various types of medicinal plants. Because if you understand, I think here only you have organic chemistry. Is it so, madam? Do you have analytical? Do you have medicinal chemistry? No. Organic and analytical. So generally, even once we take the, once we collect the plant material, we go with lots of analysis. We do lots of analytical chemistry there. We do lots of chromatography. We do lots of, isolations. Various kinds of chromatography we conduct, and finally we observe the molecule has got anti-diabetic or antioxidant or antimicrobial or any biological activity for that matter. So you can see India is repository of more than 7,500 medicinal plants found in Himalayan to marine and desert to rainforest ecosystems. Our geographical and biodiversity system is very beautiful. If we take India on the geographical location and the biodiversity of flora and fauna, availability of flora and fauna, India has a great sustainable flora and fauna. India has got very great biodiversity. In that you can observe 7,500 medicinal plants have been found from Himalayan to marine. Himalaya is up and marine is down. And desert to rainforest. We also have deserts and rainforests. If you take northern part of Karnataka, which is Mangalore and other regions, they have, we call it as South India Chirapinji, because their rainforest, their rain, fall is very high. The record, and there we will be having lots of rainforest ecosystems, and the plants and the phenolic compounds or compounds available in those plants are quite different from the other region plant molecules. So these are various, since we are from India, we should talk about Ayurveda, Siddha, Unani, all these things, where these types of species have been identified and they have been using for various types of medicines. I think you might be knowing about homeopathy, where the very small, tiny, sugary particles, but it is inclusive of medicine, where their release is very much controlled release of medicine, we say. And even Ayurveda, they also treat the disease from the roots. However, human beings, all of us are very much, happy with the synthetic medicines or synthetic drugs, which gives us very fast relief. However, it will not cure from the roots. This is supply chain. Definitely, this is not required for this particular audience. And let us talk about SDGs, which is very important and which every student here should understand. Sustainable Development Goals. So we have 17 SDGs across the world, which are being given by United Nations and followed by the rest of the world. However, the implementation of SDG, because 17 SDGs, if you observe, no poverty, which means poverty reduction or poverty eradication. Below the average income of the individual should come to the above level. That is what the objective of this particular SDG 1, no poverty. So across the world, so many countries, and the United Nations goal is to have no poverty across the world, which is very, very tough, which is definitely, it is not that it will not happen. It will happen, but again, lots of efforts to be put and lots of discipline to be maintained and lots of resources to be accumulated. So then only we can try to have this. And in this forum, I should also acknowledge that I am one of the SDGs member for Asian countries. So I represent India for SDGs in the Renpal Council, where we talk about various aspects, how to take the parameters into the consideration and provide the facilities to the countries where the poverty line is very, 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 very low. And zero hunger is again, it is a food security issue. Food security and food insecurity. Food security doesn't mean that it is not the availability of the food. Food will be available, but how much food is accessible to the people is called food security. When you have food, but again it should be accessible to all the level of people. It should not only to the rich, it should not only to the poor. It should be available to all or accessible to all the levels of people. Then only we can try to have this zero hunger objective. Good health and well-being, even whatever the research we do, even the chemistry professors here, they do. We are into this good health and well-being, where we work on various compounds. Again, compounds become the drugs. Drugs will be available for the human beings to be used. So, which means we are into this category. Even food also. Quality education is another SDG where every one of us should focus here. When we talk about quality education, when your professors are having lots of, putting lots of efforts and bringing various experts, I also suggest all of you to focus here. Then only the quality of education will implement or get implemented in India or any other country. Gender equality. So this is another SDG. Probably all the SDGs have their own pros and cons to be followed. So these are the two areas where my research is focusing on. Metabolic diseases, that is where my title says that I'll be talking about some of the chemical compounds and I'll be talking about the diseases. Finally, we come to the a junction or intersection where the molecules will treat the diseases, metabolic diseases. Mainly I focus on diabetes here. So, metabolic syndrome, generally in human bodies, we have various kinds of metabolisms. If you talk about metabolism, we have one standard metabolism, and again we have carbohydrate metabolism, protein metabolism, and lipid metabolism. In carbohydrate metabolism, any changes in carbohydrate metabolism, you have diabetes, which is in the local language we call it as sugar valley. Then in lipid disease, we have various kinds of cholesterol levels will be in very severe mode. So there the lipid related diseases will be occurring, and heart attack or heart diseases will be one of the examples for it. And protein metabolism, again the metabolism of protein is disturbed, thereby you will get lots of protein metabolic diseases, for example kidney diseases or chronic kidney diseases. So these are various metabolic risk factors where CVD, cardiovascular disease, what I have mentioned about lipid metabolism and the disturbances in lipid metabolism. Obesity is again a gene manipulation as well as the stress is too much. I'm sorry for that. But again, when the college is taking a lot of efforts to bring the people, and you are just chit-chatting with your next, the neighbor who is sitting next to you, doesn't make any sense for me. I think, silence will be maintained and focus will be here. And diabetes, all of these are the causative agents for diabetes. See, as I mentioned, diabetes is the glucose metabolism disorder, or carbohydrate metabolism disorder, where insulin resistance will be occurring, or the insulin levels are decreased, the glucose levels are increased, and the good cholesterol HDL is increased, and LDL and triglycerides are also increased. If you observe that glycogen and triglycerides are increased in the muscles, and these are free fatty acids, where they will be into the liver. And coming to the synthetic drugs, where majority of you will be working on, you synthesize various organic compounds, and you will be using them for various diseases. Again, after formulation, tablet preparation. But my research completely is on the plant and natural products and the sources of polyphenols. Polyphenols are the phenolic compounds as well as flavonoids, as I told you earlier as well, which plays an important role in ameliorating the diseases used to treat cancers. Antioxidants, in a very basic language, if I want to tell, antioxidants are the good molecules which are present in plant compounds or even foods, where they fight with reactive oxygen species. See, antioxidants are the antioxidants fight with the free radicals or reactive oxygen species and try to kill them, so that antioxidants will be there in your blood flow, where they will have beneficial effects to treat the disease. That is the very simple mechanism, if I want to tell you in a very anecdotal manner. So you can just read the slide. We have catalase, we have GPX, GR, where they try to fight with the bad molecules which enters into the body. And I'm talking about chemistry and biology diseases since 20 years. So according to the studies, what we understand is only 20% of the efficacy will be from the medicines. Otherwise, doctors should talk to the patient in a very empathetically, very good manner, saying that nothing will happen, you will survive. So those things will help the patient about 60%. Another 20% they care what you take. So this is how generally it happens. Human beings, see during COVID, I give you another example. During COVID, many people died not because of COVID. Many people died with fear. Many people died with stress. That time I was working with Malaysia. I was in health systems, Malaysian government. So we were having access to all the states of all the corners of the state. I was with one of them. We understood that they were dying just because of the stress, not because of the disease. Of course, some people have died because of the disease. And I also give some examples, very live examples, where in hospital 2, 3, 4 beds. So it was series of deaths. So that's where I always reiterate this. Medicines will have the efficacy at very less percentage, whereas the willpower of the candidate and the relatives play a pivotal role in any disease and ameliorating the bad effects or adverse effects of the free radicals. And medicinal plants, this is what I have mentioned just now, they play a vital role in the human wellness. And drugs from plants is an alternative form of medicine which have less toxicity, shows fewer or no side effects to the patients. That's why majority of the botanists or pharmacologists or medicinal plant researchers, they always say that plant materials are good for health than the synthetically derived products or synthetically manufactured products. Well, these two are my products which I was working on various types of vinegars. How many of you know vinegar? Not the teachers. The students? Oh, very good. At least few hands raised. So generally, you will be observed, or you might have seen the apple cider vinegar. So in the same manner, the research group from University Malaysia Kelantan, as I being the principal investigator and another person, we have synthesized this particular vinegar, which is from 2 different tropical fruits of Malaysia. And now, I was the inception director for that particular center, and now those products are commercialized across the country of Malaysia, as well as we are exporting them to surrounding countries. The 2 vinegars are Dokong and Rambutan. I think probably one or two of you might heard of these names. These fruits are also available in some parts of Chennai. Otherwise, these fruits are only available in Indonesia, Malaysia, and other countries. So this is another area where my team has worked very extensively. Honey. Honey, we just see it as a product, food product, or sweetener, natural sweetener, by properties, where even the bee products, other bee products including bee venom, pollen, propolis, and royal jelly has been becoming more and more popular, especially for cosmetics industry, where even they are using them in nanomedicines as well. See various kinds of polyphenols and flavonoids. Polyphenols play a better role in decreasing the blood glucose levels. And finally, the mechanism, if you see, they are protecting the pancreas to release more insulin. And honey consists several bioactive compounds, exhibit potential anti-diabetic effects, and finally, improve insulin sensitivity. These are 2 different honey we work on, and this is where we work more. These are the small tiny pots are called as honey pots, and there is honeybee. Anyways, you might have seen this. And various kinds of therapeutic efficacies of honey we have published in 2016. You can observe starting from eye disorders, antimicrobial activity, anti-inflammatory, antioxidant, and cardiovascular diseases. So different types of polyphenols, as I have mentioned in earlier slide as well, enhances insulin secretion and inhibit alpha glucosidase and alpha amylase activities. So these are sugars with lower glycemic impact. Fructose to glucose ratio increases glycemic response, and fructose aids hepatic glycogen storage and lowers postprandial glucose. And koala, manuka, acacia, honey also have low GI. So these are again different types of activities. You can see various actions of honey. Where insulin secretion is increased, antioxidant activities have been increased and prolongation of gastric emptying time. When you have been observed with gastric emptying time is being increased or prolongated, so that your carbohydrate intake or glucose intake is lessened, so that the sugar levels are decreased. So it's all directly and indirectly proportional to what you take into the system. And summary of antidiabetic compounds: phenolic antidiagonate, where increasing of insulin secretion and decreasing of glucose absorptions. You can also understand how organic acids, what we have seen in the previous slide. Finally, you observe antioxidants protect beta cells from oxidative damage. I also show you some of the histology slides. Yeah, this is one of the paper which we have published in Biomedicine Pharmacotherapy, which stimulus bee honey we have used for diabetic rats, and we found that there are pancreatoprotective effects, whereby more insulin is being produced. So these are various compounds from our studies, and you can observe the body weights, fluid intakes, fasting blood glucose, food intake, and other lipid profiles here. So this is how the the histopathological slide of any liver. If you take the liver and you cut and you have observed in your slides, this is how it looks. So certainly you can see the damage here, normal one, and you can see the diabetic control. Here you have great damage, and after giving the honey as intervention, you see the damage is decreased, and here also. Finally, this is with the control, liver control. So these are liver cells, these are pancreatic cells, and these are kidney cells. So this is another plant which we have used, Diosporus buxifolia. Phenolics and secondary metabolites play an important role, and then they have these kind of biological activities. And black ginger as well. And finally, nowadays, nanotechnology and nanoparticle research has been booming. So you can observe the particle size of water to tennis ball. So science, technology, and engineering, the intersection of these three subjects are nanotechnology and nanoparticle research. So this is the overall process of biosynthesis of nanoparticles, where in 2014 we have published this in Current Drug Metabolism, where nanotechnology plays an important role in various kinds of disease detection and even in prevention as well. Nanotattoos or smart tattoos, nanotubes, artificial pancreas, nanopumps, microspheres, nanoshells, cotton rods, layer by layer methods and fluids. Even majority of them are having very tight connection with chemistry as well. So that is where we always say chemistry is mother of all the subjects. And again, this was the paper which I was showing here, and we also have shown some of the biosynthesis and anti-cancer activity of Tualang honey and Eurocaima longifolia of Malaysia. Yeah, as in the very beginning I have mentioned, usage of herbal drugs must be always under the physician's monitoring because plant molecules also consist of toxic compounds, where you also should remember all the time is drugs are drugs. With that, thanks to my research team who are contributing to the natural product research. Thank you.
Hello, thank you very much, sir. So, any questions from audience side? Thank you very much, sir, for your valuable information about it.
On जी question mic on जी
Thank you very much. Plants and the uses of that drugs that are available from natural sources. So, but the doctor advised to the diabetic patients don't take honey and fruits, those which are sweet. But we are finding much more antioxidants and good organic products in all of them. Even though they control the metabolic functions, those which are responsible for the diabetic problem. So why should they advise don't take that type of fruits, honey, etc.
Okay, thank you. That's a really good question. As I have shown the systematic studies and also the reports saying that honey is a good anti-diabetic agent, where honey is not glucose based, it is fructose based, where the absorption of glucose and fructose are of different levels, where they will not directly affect the insulin secretion of the pancreas and they will not damage the beta cells of the pancreas. So, however, doctors should also prescribe honey as one of the supplements, but again, it should be in limited proportions. Probably 1 tablespoon can be consumed every day, even with lemon and other related supplements.
Sir, today the whole entire world is suffering from diabetes, sir. So diabetes is mainly due to the insulin problem, sir. So insulin is secreted from the pancreas. So pancreas means in the beta cells. So how can you improve the secretion of pancreas in the beta cells? So can we synthesize the insulin outside?
Yeah, the process of insulin synthesis is very tiresome. Number one. Second thing is instead of instead of preparing or synthesizing the insulin outside, we can try to normalize the metabolism of carbohydrate metabolism of human beings by regular exercises and taking quantity of the food which is required for the body. Generally what happens, we take more than the required food. So we will be giving burden to all the organs, not only pancreas, for liver, for kidneys, for all the organs we give unnecessary stress. So if we take less quantity of food for more durations. Say for example, instead of 3 times of food, we can take 5 times in smaller quantities. That is one thing. So that one side I have shown that prolonged the absorption of glucose, which means is lessened, whereby they will not be burdened too much on the pancreas, so that the insulin what is being produced by the pancreas is sufficient to the body. So that is how we can manage. Otherwise, producing insulin outside the body, it's a very tiresome job and it is expensive as well.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for your insightful message. Now it's time to felicitate our speaker, sir, please. Now I request Basveshwar sir and all the faculty who are present here and our HOD sir to honor our speaker. I request Basveshwar sir Venkata Basveshwar Rao sir, the esteemed rector of Krishna University. Sir is a highly respected academician and able administrator and a visionary leader in the field of 7 review papers and 9